Discovery, go and throttle up.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Popping in a little bit early because we got a Fram2 deorbit that's happening here. YouTube, Twitch, how's everybody doing? All right. Let me just ping the YouTube chat. Make sure that's working. All right. Okay, so, screen there. Professional streamer here. All right. How's everybody doing? We're going to pick up the coverage. SpaceX already started. I didn't know when they were starting. So I had some stuff to do this morning. So I thought they, I was like, oh, splashdown is at, 9, so, they're going to start the coverage like a couple minutes before. No, they're going right now. Let's go.
3 minutes will pass before the drogue parachutes deploy. These are the two smaller parachutes that are designed to stabilize Dragon and slow it down before the release of the main parachutes.
Then less than a minute after the drogue parachutes deploy, we'll release the 4 main parachutes. These are the big orange and white parachutes that I'm sure you've seen on previous splashdown broadcasts that further slow down the spacecraft. Over the course of 3 minutes, the drogues.
So what was Fram2's mission battle? Fram2's mission was the first humans ever to get to polar orbit. The Fram2 mission is in a 90-degree inclined polar orbit, and they have been giving updates. They've been given updates, and I kind of want to show you guys that update here before we get a deorbit. Here. Check this out. Like, we got onboard deorbit. You ever wonder what RCS sounds like inside of a spacecraft? There you go. So it's just a flex? No, they were doing all kinds of science. Boots and cats and boots and cats. Yep, that's pulse width modulation of RCS thrusters. There you go. Pretty good. So anyway, we'll pick back up on the cast here. They are scheduled to come down in about 45 minutes.
For return, the team...
That would get annoying after a while. Would you rather be stuck in space or?
No-go conditions are rain or chance of lightning in the recovery zone, both for the safety of the crew inside the spacecraft, but also the recovery teams that are on the water. The SpaceX team also looks for wind speeds less than 15 feet per second or about 10 miles per hour and relatively calm seas so that we can safely execute recovery operations, which includes landing a helicopter on the recovery ship to fly the crew back to land, which we saw Marissa standing on.
Yeah, that's awesome. For these operations, SpaceX closely coordinates with the United States Coast Guard to establish a safety zone to ensure both public safety and the safety of those involved in the recovery operations, as well as, of course, the crew on board in the returning spacecraft. Multiple notices are issued to mariners in advance of and during recovery operations, and Coast Guard patrol boats are deployed to discourage boaters from entering the splashdown zones.
How much of a burn is needed to slow down the vehicle? So, Bryn, the atmosphere does most of your deceleration and where you trade kinetic energy for heat energy, right? That's what re-entry is, right? The thrusters only just give you a little bit of a kick. It's about a 60 meters a second burn, depending on where you're coming from. So about 200 feet per second, give or take. That's all you need to deorbit around Earth at about 280 miles or about 440 kilometers. That's all you need. So, that ticking noise probably lasts, I don't know, a minute at best. It's not a lot. You don't need a lot to get going. Like like low Earth orbit is called low Earth orbit just for a good reason. You are, you're barely just in orbit
when encountering vehicles designed to be reused, like SpaceX Falcon family of rockets.
And when the first stage booster of the Falcon rocket returns for landing, its size and speed generate multiple sonic booms heard on the ground as a double clap of thunder. Similar sonic booms were heard during the return and landing of NASA's space shuttle.
In each case, sonic booms mark the end of just one in a series of missions for the vehicle returning from flight. In today's case, it will announce the conclusion of our Fram2 mission,
which we're very excited about, and that's coming up with about a few minutes remaining in Dragon's deorbit burn.
Yeah, it is a little bit longer.
Let's talk about some of our first Fram2 explorers achieved. What our first Fram2 explorers achieved while in space.
We heard some great stuff from Marissa already. Mm-hmm. I think the thing that's the most exciting to me, though, is that this is the first human spaceflight over the Earth's polar regions. With the exception of the Apollo lunar missions, the North and South poles have not been fully visible to astronauts in space.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that we've...
Are we not just going to comment about the fairing that's actually just sitting in the transfer aisle right there? Are we not commenting about that? No, we won't mention that. Okay, cool, sweet.
There's a lot of progress to be made in space. And during the mission, the crew conducted 22 different research projects.
No, we're not going to talk about the fairing that's just chilling back there.
It's hard to choose.
How about the autoclaves over here and the mandrels for winding the fairings? No? Not going to see that, huh? All right, cool.
ERs here on Earth help diagnose health concerns, but they can also measure bone density, non-destructive hardware imaging to see why something is broken. I think that is so cool that they did pay homage to the original very first X-ray there. You can see the comparison
It was,
on your
Dan.
screen.
Yep, that...
And it's amazing to think that the distance between those two images is about 130 years.
Oh, wow. That is pretty incredible. And you can see the progress just in that, just in those two images. They also performed the first exercise in Dragon, which I thought was cool.
Loved hearing about that, yeah.
On the International Space, they do exercise all the time. It's really important for the astronauts in space, especially for long duration missions, to make sure that they're keeping their muscles strong as we don't have the gravity that we have here on Earth out in space. So it's really cool that they were actually able to come up with a device that helped enhance the exercise.
Some other time.
I think that's really cool.
I think the challenge of exercise in space is going to be one of our key goals here at SpaceX as we keep working to make life interplanetary. So, of course, one of the experiments on board tested those blood flow restrictions to see if we could generate more strenuous exercise with less space and in less time, given the Dragon is a capsule designed for 4 people in this case, but can actually fly up to 7. And I also love that we get to see what the crew came up with their own kind of self-experiment, saying what can you do in this space, what makes sense, and what seems worth doing.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear, maybe I wonder if it was the same exercises. Did they do team exercises, or did they have their own individual ones that worked specifically for each person, since everybody's a little bit different?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing the findings on this one for sure.
Yeah.
The next one, though, that I'm also excited to hear about is growing oyster mushrooms in space. This is the first time oyster mushrooms have been grown, but there is certainly an optimism here that mushrooms will be a perfect type of space crop. In some cases, they can double in growth every day, helping astronauts to meet their nutritional needs on long-duration space missions like those to Mars.
Yeah, with all that working out that they're going to be doing in space, they're definitely going to need some food to keep them energized. In addition to the medical research, the crew teamed up with amateur radio on the International Space Station to host Fram2, a polar history-focused competition for the ham radio community. Now, while the crew orbited, they transmitted images of various locations mixed up as puzzle pieces. Participants from around the globe assembled the pieces to identify the location and uncover its significance to polar history.
There has been a huge emphasis on polar history for this entire mission, which is certainly not surprising given that video we saw of the crew earlier and all of their connections to Svalbard. But I'm excited to see which student teams fared the best in that ham radio competition for sure.
Yeah, I love that they came up with this idea to do this while they were out in space. I think that's so cool.
In addition, the crew brought significant artifacts from
John, that would either be really, really good or really, really bad.
Loan from the
paranoid up there? Nah, I'm good. I'm good. That would suck.
Talking Medal for Science Communication from the Starmoose Festival, which recognizes the work of those helping to promote public awareness of science.
That would be very bad.
Now, I think that is pretty unbelievable, knowing how long ago that mission was, and to bring it full circle or full orbit, to bring a piece with them on this mission. I think that is so cool. Amazing.
The crew experienced about 15 to 16 orbits every day with an orbital period of about 95 minutes, which means that our crew saw approximately 15 sunrises and sunsets per day on this mission, which is a little different than your usual Arctic experience.
Right, and also a little bit different than the equatorial orbits, which are just a little bit faster than that. So I thought that was interesting that it was just a little bit longer for the orbit going in the polar direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the 16 Draco thrusters used to orient the spacecraft during the mission, including apogee, perigee maneuvers, orbit adjustment, and attitude control. There's a lot of thrusters on the Dragon vehicle that are, help them throughout the mission, but especially for them coming home, helping orient the vehicle in the directions that we need for jettisoning the trunk, as well as orienting towards the re-entry zone when they come back down to Earth.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Dragon is doing all of this autonomously. We know that our crew is strapped in and keeping an eye on things, but Dragon really does fly itself. Each of those Draco thrusters produces 90 pounds of force in the vacuum of space, which is, if you've been following along with prior webcasts, not nearly as powerful as the MVAC engine on board Stage 2, but they're doing really different things. The Draco thrusters are doing these fine-tuned kind of attitude adjustment maneuvers and obviously our deorbit burn. While the MVAC is usually what injects our payload or our astronauts into their intended orbit.
Yeah, the engines on the rocket help get them.
Dragon SpaceX deorbit burn complete. Performance nominal. Trunk separation sequence initiated.
Dragon copy.
Okay. Deorbit burn is complete. They're gonna jettison the trunk now, and then
we did hear just confirmation of that deorbit burn completing. Dragon is now initiating separation of the claw mechanism, which will terminate data, power, and fluid connections between the spacecraft and the trunk. And then after that, Dragon will jettison its trunk, which is that cylindrical, unpressurized part of the spacecraft.
The trunk is currently connected to the aft or bottom section of the Dragon spacecraft, which is also where the heat shield is located. So in order to expose the heat shield and get the vehicle ready for atmospheric reentry, we jettison the trunk. So we'll listen in now for that milestone.
Nominal trunk jettison.
Right on schedule.
Great news.
Dragon copy, nominal trunk jettison.
Great news. We just heard that call out and confirmation that the Dragon trunk has now separated.
We always do that call and response from mission control to the crew on board too, to make sure that everybody's staying in tight communication for critical operations like this. So Dragon will now slew, which again is that careful turning maneuver, to the reentry attitude. Heat shield first, as the trunk gradually drifts further and further away from the spacecraft. Next up, Dragon's nose cone will be closed to protect the forward hatch during reentry. The crew will keep using their screens to monitor the locking of the nose cone, which is done by a set of hooks. And that is coming up here in just a couple of minutes, and we're getting some great views of our recovery ship here on your screen right now, too.
And we've been talking about weather. Weather looks excellent there in the recovery zone. Dragon is also beginning to flush nitrox into the cabin and continuing to top off the crew's suits with cool air. This is what will allow the cabin temperature to remain comfortable
early in the morning,
while the external temperatures reach
out in
3,500 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty hot.
Well, not early,
the heat shield will now be pointing forward, leading the spacecraft to the landing site. These views are so incredible. Again, that is our recovery ship Shannon with the recovery team. They're patiently waiting for the Fram2 crew to make their way back home on Earth.
You could tell from that interview we did with Marissa earlier how excited they all are to welcome the crew home, hear their experiences firsthand, and obviously do some of those initial experiments right away, even as the capsule as the crew exits the capsule unassisted for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure everybody that has been working with this crew, it's been a while. The mission did not just start on Monday. There's been a lot leading up to it and preparing for all the research that they've been doing, and they still have a little bit more when they get back home.
Yeah, Don, it's reversed for you, huh?
I think the thing that has been the most exciting to me following along with this mission has been watching the crew's updates over X. They have shared incredible videos, again, through that plug-and placer system. But I'm really excited to see some of the videos that they've taken, some of those like higher resolution images, given that so many of them have experience with Arctic exploration already. I can't wait to see that new vantage point that they have to share with us when they get back.
And with cinematography. And there you could see on the Dragon tracker exactly where they are passing over, looks like Antarctica there, making their way towards the Pacific Ocean. Again, they are going to be splashing down for the first time in a crewed, Dragon vehicle off the Pacific coast.
So this Dragon inside of the trunk, I mean, the trunk's no longer attached, but that in the trunk, that Dragon had not a Starlink satellite, but the optical transmission sensors from a Starlink satellite was basically hot wired to the trunk of this thing. And there's quite actually just a wire that goes into the capsule with a Starlink antenna. So the capsule has Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi is connected through an optical sensor into Starlink. Plug and play laser, because optical transmission. That's why they call it the placer.
In our crew as we approach that drogue chute deploy.
Oh, turn up the voice? Yeah, I got you. Let me just equalize them out.
Call out for is the nose
Thank you for letting me know,
closing.
dude. You're not being that guy at all.
We've completed 2 phase burns, a deorbit burn, jettisoning the trunk, and next up we will have the nose cone closed in preparation for splashdown.
We do have confirmation.
And my fitness consigliere, Michelle. Should be meeting, yep. Still got him? Hello?
If you're just now joining us, you are tuning into the Fram2 mission, preparing for the Fram2 crew to splash down for the first time in a Dragon vehicle on the west coast in the Pacific Ocean. So if you've seen a splashdown before, typically it's potentially in the Gulf of Mexico or on the Atlantic side of the Florida Panhandle.
She said Gulf of Mexico.
But today we have the Fram2 crew splashing down in the Pacific Ocean.
Don't.
That's the view that
Call
you
it the
got
Gulf.
there on your screen.
How dare you?
All of SpaceX's recovery
care.
ships have been carefully tailored to
Elon-
our fleet
Elon,
of
though.
vehicle operations. So the one on your screen has been specifically
You are harboring papers calling it the Gulf of Mexico, are you not?
a lot of different ways as we prepare for that splashdown. And this is a ship called Shannon, which is one of our key ascent milestones for our Dragon astronauts. So it's kind of a cool toast to the way all these vehicles are working together in any given operation and all.
I actually like calling it the Gulf of Mexico. Amexida. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the Gulf of Amexida. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Monitoring Dragon. They've been monitoring Dragon from the beginning of their mission all the way to splashdown.
That's Shannon, the recovery ship.
And they are also patiently waiting for the crew to make their way back home.
Speaking of the beginning, here in Hawthorne, California, right behind us over here is actually the first Dragon that ever orbited the Earth. So it's wild to think that we've gone all the way from the first Dragon ever to this first polar orbiting mission with the Fram2 crew today.
Yeah, we've definitely come a very long way with the advancements, especially in reusability, which I think is incredible.
Dragon was designed from the very beginning to carry people, even though our first mission was only a cargo mission. And it's really been interesting to see Dragon's progress,
name,
both
Tessa.
as the first
Drummer.
private vehicle to dock with the International Space Station, first all-civilian crew.
Geek, yes.
Now, of course, we've done several other missions to the ISS, both for private customers as well as for NASA astronauts. And then our free flyer missions like Fram2 today.
Yeah,
That's
and you
right.
mentioned designed from the beginning to fly people. The Dragon that you were mentioning behind us actually does have windows on it.
Yeah.
The windows are a little bit different. We have increased the size so that the crew can get a very nice view. And we did get some really cool video clips of the crew looking out the window and showing us some really awesome views from their vantage point while they were in orbit.
I also have a quick correction to what I said earlier. Shannon, the recovery vessel is named after Shannon Walker, not the recovery location. But it's cool. We're still connected to lots of different historical milestones within the space community. Of course, right now we are standing by for confirmation that nose cone closure is complete. That's one of our next critical milestones to protect their crew as we prepare for that full re-entry and splashdown.
Santa?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see. You know, we got a few clips here and there. It was really cool that Shun was actually able to keep posting during his entire mission.
I don't know.
I was
who's
definitely
on board
following
today,
along,
just to answer your
but I'm
question,
really
honey.
excited to see all of the video that they were able to take of
good,
the
drummer.
research that they were doing.
Right.
Hopefully they were able to document all of that.
I thought this was tomorrow.
SpaceX,
So I'm all,
nose cone secured for entry.
okay, nose cone secure. I'm all screwed up here, dude. I thought this was tomorrow. Oops.
SpaceX Dragon, copy.
There we've got that confirmation of closure. That's great.
Perfect timing. Next up, we'll be entering a communications blackout, which you mentioned earlier. This is going to last about 6 minutes. Now, that should begin in about 18 minutes from now.
Just in case you are just joining us, on Monday, March 31st at 9:46 p.m. Eastern, Falcon 9 launched Fram2 to a polar orbit from Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida, flying over Miami as well as Cuba and Panama and just west of
Chano, you're
Ecuador
right,
and
right.
Peru on their ascent to space. In fact, the crew had a great time flying over LC-39A on flight day 3. Let's take a look.
Look at this.
I can see your launch pad from here.
Oh,
Do you see it?
yeah, QS.
Yeah, but see your launch pad, Jun.
Yes,
See our launch pad.
yes, yes. This is our launch pad. Oh my god.
That's pretty neat, man.
How cool is that?
Took X-rays, Coltec.
So cool, and it was really cool to hear the reactions in real time in that video. Dragon successfully separated from
Dragon SpaceX for entry sequence.
Okay.
Report when ready to copy.
What if it doesn't close? It can be jettisoned. All systems.
SpaceX Dragon, go ahead.
Schmam's pretty cool, right?
Okay, Yannicka, I've got a COM blackout start time of 1606. COM blackout end time of 1613. How copy?
8 minutes from now. Hey, Ashap.
Dragon copy. That is a blackout time of 1606 and end time 1613. See you on the other side at 1613.
No, technically no, Baron. They can't claim public domain as their
That's
property.
a good copy. With that, can you please verify tablets are secure behind the elastic bands, visors are down, and restraints are tight?
I don't know, Shinar. I don't know why there's a turtle there. I don't think they explained it, but there is a turtle there.
Now, we just heard that call out that we are expecting to have that blackout period that's going to last about 6 minutes at 9:06 p.m. Pacific time. And so we should expect confirmation of communication again around 9:12, 9:13 a.m. Pacific time. And the crew is preparing for that blackout period. The Corps did mention, put your visors down, make sure you're buckled in.
Yeah. Get ready to come home.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Dragon successfully separated from Falcon 9's second stage about 10 minutes after liftoff and continued on its journey.
SpaceX Dragon, all 4 crew members, tablets restrained, restraints tight, and visors down.
SpaceX copies.
And good confirmation that they're all strapped in, visors down, ready to go. Over the last 4 days, the crew have been flying over Earth in a 90-degree circular orbit, passing over the poles about every 46 minutes and 40 seconds, all while conducting research to help advance long-duration space exploration.
Oh.
And Yannicka, one of our crew members on board, is a cinematographer by trade. So she has taken every possible moment to capture her experience throughout the mission.
That is a really nice camera.
Fram2's return to Earth actually began yesterday, around when they initiated their first downhill phase burn, followed by the second downhill phase burn. Each of these events involved short firings of Dragon's Draco thrusters to lower Dragon's altitude in advance of re-entering the Earth's atmosphere.
Now, following these 2 burns, the crew finished out a day of research and had their last dinner on board at about 2:50 a.m. Pacific time. And just before 6 a.m. Pacific time today, the crew donned their spacesuits and made their final cabin preparations before they began the last series of operations prior to splashdown. Before our Fromenauts left on their journey, we had a chance to hear what they had planned to do in space, so let's take a look.
$25K for one of those? Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, let's take a look.
And actually, sounds like we don't have views of that, but we did hear all about the stuff from Marissa of all the research that they were able to do throughout their mission.
Yeah.
Also, there's a Merlin 1D just sitting there on a pallet. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to notice the Merlin engine that's just chilling over there. But it's just chilling over there.
Turn to
I didn't want to see it anyway.
Landing site.
Yeah.
So lots of progress being made on each of these missions. Every day
That's a
we're
spare?
learning something new, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot.
And there's
of
also
firsts.
2 dudes with top hats over there.
After Dragon has re-entered
Would
the
that look
Earth's
good in your
atmosphere,
garage? Yes.
a series of parachutes will deploy, and that'll slow down the spacecraft's final descent. Now,
Okay, if you really want to know, the reason why Merlin engine is staged there is because over here there is a big rig lift. You can see the post from the lift right there. It is quite actually a lift that is used to lift up semi-trucks. SpaceX modified it to pick up the thrust structure for Falcon 9, the thrust structure on the first stage. And they lift the thrust structure up, they put the Merlin engines underneath it, and then they bring the thrust structure down onto the Merlin engines. That's how they put together Falcon 9's engine section. Engine section assembly is right there. You can actually see them working on an engine assembly for a future Falcon 9 booster right there. And it's the lift, the big rig lift holds it in place.
Atmosphere at hypersonic
That's why there's a
speeds.
Merlin
The
1
high
engine there,
temperatures
because
and
it's getting
interactions with the
it's going to get
atmosphere
installed.
Generate a plasma field around the vehicle. The Dragon's heat shield protects the spacecraft from. By the time of drogue parachute deployment, Dragon will be traveling at just 300 miles per hour.
I don't know what that is,
and
Baron.
at an
It's just
altitude of
staged
about
equipment from what I
18,000
can
feet.
tell.
That is
Couple
incredible
of
how
toolboxes.
quickly, because it's within a few minutes that happens, that we can slow down the vehicle. Now, vehicle velocity at main chute deploy will be approximately 119 miles per hour at about 6,500 feet above the splashdown site. And vehicle velocity
there it
at
is.
splashdown will be approximately
This is a Tesla
16
Roddy
miles
picture.
per hour. Pretty slow and steady.
Yeah, wild to
there it
go
is.
from 17,500
See this post right
to
here?
16.
Yeah.
Of course,
That
the crew
post
experiences a lot of different things on return,
is right
but the
there.
highest G load that they will experience during reentry is approximately 3 to 5
Thank you,
Gs,
Baron.
which is basically the same you feel on a really good roller coaster. During their 4 days in space, where the Gs were 0, the crew got to enjoy some amazing views from Dragon's cupola, which is the largest window ever flown in space. So here's a look at the engineering that went into creating that for our crew.
This is a great video.
When we started
Nice,
thinking
Micah.
about the cupola, it's more than just another window in space. It's an extension of the Dragon spacecraft. So when we got into concepting, it has to have the same feel and aura of the actual
Not all
Dragon
of them, Peter,
spacecraft.
no.
When you are go to open the forward hatch for cupola use, and please enjoy the best view
Same
of
capsule.
the planet.
When the forward hatch first opens, you can look up and you see immediately that there's a large window up there with the 4 Draco shields protecting the bubbles from the Draco pulses. If you look at the videos from Inspiration 4, you can see their jaws all drop just looking out the forward hatch, not even being in the cupola.
The most notable thing to me is that it looks so simple on the outside, but the deeper you go, the more you uncover more complexities within it. There's 3 different bubbles that make up the cupola. The exterior-most bubble is our thermal bubble, which
That's
is
cupola.
designed to protect
Different,
from
Alice.
micrometeorite debris that we could experience on orbit. The center bubble is the pressure pane, which holds in all the pressure. And the innermost pane is our scratch pane, designed to protect from anything that the crew inside might be doing.
It's actually made from acrylic and polycarbonate layers, but you also have technologies that are in, say, fighter aircraft that are applied to the cupola. We have a coating called indium tenoxide, which keeps the temperatures down on the inside of the cupola space. All these aspects are tested on the ground and made sure that we operate safely and that we know that when the astronauts are going up there that they have a great time. What makes this the largest window in orbit? It's just the overall size of it.
I feel like it's just so immersive, like you're inside of the bubble and you're looking out and space is literally all around you. I think the experience of having the cupola on Dragon makes it such that Dragon is the experience. Even when we fly our short duration missions to the ISS feels like the destination and the experience,
Bonk.
whereas having the cupola on Dragon really makes Dragon and being inside the cupola the destination.
When you get into the cupola, it feels almost like you're on a spacewalk. The Earth all around you, the stars, sunrise, sunset, getting up in there and looking out is a one-of-a-kind experience.
Nose cone closed right there. Fun fact, the nose cone actually hooks into
Dragon's
the docking
primary
port.
heat shield is comprised of
The docking port hooks are actually what holds the nose cone in place, which is actually pretty cool. The drive hooks that they would normally use for the docking port. So I know what people are going to ask, how's this one using it? Well, it still has the drive hooks from the docking port in it. The cupola is just in the center instead of the docking mechanism, instead of the soft capture mechanism.
1 CRS
Pretty
missions
cool.
that successfully resupplied the space station on 20 different flights. Pika 3.0 was developed specifically for use on Dragon 2 crew and cargo, with enhanced structural and thermal properties that optimized the heat shield and drove down both cost and mass.
That's correct.
The remainder
laser
of the
drifter,
Dragon spacecraft is composed primarily of a SpaceX proprietary ablative material. It's another
That'd be
class of
awesome
thermal
to sell.
protection, which is lighter weight versus Pika and protects the underlying composite structure during reentry to ensure structural capabilities are maintained.
While Dragon will experience temperatures well over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit during peak reentry conditions, the characteristics of the thermal protection systems, coupled with the environmental cooling and life support system in the pressurized interior, should ensure that the crew will stay cool and comfortable during all phases of reentry through splashdown.
And I think that's very important because 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit is pretty hot. We actually heard Sarah in the launch program talk about, Sarah and Anna talk about the almost like different colors that you see with the plasma building around it. So hopefully the Fram2 crew will get to see something cool like that.
Honk.
Now we also have our space suits that are custom designed for each of the crew members. We do 3D print the space suit helmet, and there you can see the suit. They are flame resistant. They have a flame resistant outer layer, as well as hearing protection during ascent and reentry, as those are very loud dynamic events. The spacesuit is really an extension of the spacecraft, as it's built, just to protect the crew just as much as the capsule itself.
We obviously heard call-outs earlier that our crew was preparing by pulling their visors down. They really do that full suit up for any dynamic phase of flight. So for our Fram2 crew, that has been both launch and our reentry going on today. So right now, of course, Dragon is decreasing in its altitude as it gets closer and closer to the Pacific Ocean.
Something's going on, but I'm not sure what it is. It might just be a problem with the cast, because the cast has been a little bit screwed up because they didn't have certain footage in certain spots, but...
We've got a great view on your screen right now of where Dragon is on its trajectory right there off the coast of California.
Yeah, they're getting very, very close. Just a few minutes away from splashdown, really.
It is orange,
and you can, of course, continue to follow the crew's progress with that trajectory in the upper
peak deceleration about 5 Gs, Dan.
Once we reach about 100 kilometers in altitude, we will begin our entry interface, and the crew and both the capsule will begin to feel the effects of Earth's atmosphere.
I think whatever's going on is going on with the cast. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with the mission.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Pointing forward towards our landing site.
And we are expecting that blackout period to come up here to start in about a minute or so. And actually, it sounds like we got confirmation that we are currently in the blackout period. This is going to last about 6 minutes. Again, the reason why this is happening is because the vehicle has plasma building up all around it, which prevents us from having comms with the vehicle, but it only lasts about 6 minutes as the vehicle is re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Once we get back into the atmosphere, that plasma clears up, and it won't be so hot anymore. So at this point, we are entering, we are in the communications blackout period, again, which will last about 6 minutes due to plasma formation around the spacecraft. Now, during this time, no vehicle telemetry is received by mission control or the recovery team, and no external commanding of the vehicle or voice communication is possible.
But as a reminder, Dragon is designed to fly itself and continues to autonomously use those Draco thrusters to orient itself during reentry. During reentry, the vehicle will be slowing down from an orbital velocity, which is roughly 17,500 miles per hour, all the way down to our target splashdown velocity, which is about 15 miles per hour.
Falcon's pretty big,
the top temperature Dragon is experiencing upon reentry happens during this plasma phase, and it is nearly 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit.
Our Fram2 astronauts returning home are Mission Commander Chun Wang, Vehicle Commander Jannica Mikkelsen, Mission Specialist and Medical Officer Eric Phillips, and Mission Pilot Rabia Roga.
Just in case you are just joining us, we are wrapping up a mission that began on Monday, March 31st at 9:46 p.m. Eastern Time when Falcon 9 launched our Fram2 crew to a polar orbit from NASA Launch Complex 39A from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Dragon successfully separated from Falcon 9's second stage about 10 minutes after liftoff and continued on its planned polar journey.
Since then, the crew has been flying over Earth's polar regions while conducting loads of research to help advance long-duration space exploration
that's the placer
and
right
our
there, Jim.
understanding of
See it
human
over there?
health in space.
Pretty cool.
And they have been
It's just
uploading
that
some
they
great
hot-wired a
updates
piece of a
and
Starlink
visuals
satellite
from
to the back of the
space,
trunk.
like
Pretty cool.
the clips we were showing earlier, and like the clips that Mission Commander Chun Wang has been posting on X.
We have also seen some incredible views from Dragon's onboard cameras, like this one from the vantage point looking at the cupola from outside of the spacecraft.
Look at that. I think that's an ice shelf right there.
That is so incredible that they have that cupola and the space hair. I love it.
Oh, they have pictures from the Fram1 mission over there.
Up in microgravity, getting these great images here that they took of their launch site from up in space.
Yeah, that cupola view really allows all four of them to be able to see, out the window at all times.
Which is particularly exciting for this mission because, again, this is the first crewed polar mission, which means these Fram2 astronauts are the first astronauts since the Apollo missions to be able to see the poles of the Earth from space.
I said, don't do that, man. Damn.
Fun in microgravity there, taking a lot of photos and videos.
See, there's the hooks. That was the latch for the drive. Whoa. Dude, the entire I-4 corridor. Look at that. Oh, man. We haven't seen that before.
See the Earth with all the lights that we have on Earth.
That's sick.
These are just incredible views. And obviously, everything the crew has been sharing while they've been up in space, they've done through Starlink. And it has just been so cool to hear those first-noon accounts, see what's jumping out at them, what's been exciting to them. And I'm sure we'll see a lot more as the research findings continue once they get back home.
Yeah, what I think is so cool is that they've been able to post live while they're in space, thanks to Starlink being on board Dragon.
Yeah, talk to their families, video chat. We saw some great shots earlier of someone actually video chatting with somebody back on Earth. I just think that's an amazing leap forward for crewed space.
Yeah, Elon FaceTime the crew. Just FaceTime call from space. Hey, it's 2025. Why isn't that? Why shouldn't that be a thing? Right?
Enable that. We had X-ray being brought on board, which helps with health and
you should be able to video conference somebody in space in 2025. That
really
should be happening.
How close we're starting to make the space environment closer to what it is like on home. Besides, we don't have gravity up there.
Yeah, it's been cool to see the SpaceX research program.
I can't say that I have, Kelly.
Take Earth to space, right? Like, how do we plan for food and exercise and all these things that will help us continue to explore space and ultimately make life multiplanetary.
Yeah, we only have really a limited time while the crew is out in space, so it's really great to see the amount of progress that you're able to make. And Fram2 has only been on this mission for just a few days, and they've been able to do 22 research experiments. That's a lot of research and data that they can advance.
Here we go.
And of course, we're getting views on your screen right now, our first views of the capsule on its way back to Earth. We've got a lot more trajectory information on the screen right now.
This is from
so
the
you can continue to follow along as Dragon makes its way back toward its splashdown site.
This is from NASA's re-entry imaging aircraft. It's a WB-57 Canberra, an old English bomber that's been retrofitted with camera sensing equipment. It has a PTZ camera in the nose. It's currently at 18,000 feet. It's north 33 by west 118, which is over the west coast of the U.S. Actually, between U.S. and Mexico. That is the capsule coming back in.
Come out of that any minute now. And this is the recovery zone where the vehicle will be splashing down with the recovery ship Shannon.
Are they also streaming on Twitch or YouTube? I don't.
As well as a couple.
This isn't a NASA mission,
there.
so I don't think they're streaming on Twitch. And SpaceX doesn't stream on YouTube; they stream on X only. So this is probably the only place, unless somebody else is also streaming it. I mean, I have permission from SpaceX to restream this stuff, but I don't think they really care. But I thought it'd probably be a good idea to ask. You know what I mean? There it is. So yeah, it's probably the only place you're gonna see it.
sets of parachutes on board
I mean?
Dragon during reentry. The first are the drogues. We deploy those when the capsule, which you're getting great initial views on your screen. You said it earlier, but the fact that we've got these daytime views is great. So like I said, we're standing by for that drogue
should be
deploy.
able to, Connie. You
that
should be
will
able to
happen
see
when
it.
Dragon is moving at about 350 miles per hour.
I told my buddies in San Diego to go out to the pier.
Shoots are designed specifically to be deployed.
Dragon, SpaceX, comm check.
They pay for it, Minfu, yes.
Dragon, SpaceX, comm check.
SpaceX Dragon, we have you loud and clear. Have me.
We have you the same.
I hate that.
We see
It
a
sucked,
healthy flight
dude.
computer.
I had a bad experience
Expect
once.
automated chute deployment.
Dragon, copy.
A GPS has converged. Expect nominal altitude for drogue chute deploy.
Dragon, copy.
All right. They're through.
Awesome. As you heard there, we have confirmation that we have come out of the blackout period and established comms back with the Fram2 crew.
Yeah, Starlight, I hate
as
that.
they're making their way back down to Earth, and we are expecting those drogue parachutes to deploy here. Sounds like it's on time and at the expected altitude in just about a minute or so.
Yeah, which is all great news. We heard a lot of good confirmation from Mission Control back to Dragon. So again, those drogue shoots are special in that they are smaller and lighter than our main.
Brace for drogues.
Seat rotation.
Good.
Capsules
Copy,
transonic.
brace for drogues.
Dude, you can see them talking. That's the coolest part, man. You can see the
on
crew
your
actually
screen
talking.
that the seats are rotating in preparation for splashdown, and the crew is bracing for the drogue parachutes. They're going to feel maybe a little bit of a jolt as the vehicle is going to slow down very quickly. And this is such an incredible view that
Jesse
we're
ain't
seeing
kidding. This is a
of Dragon
fantastic
because
shot.
of the daytime views that we're getting here. This looks amazing.
All right. Should get a pop for the drogues here momentarily.
So just ahead of the call out for drogue chute deployment, Dragon will autonomously safe the propulsion system on board.
There we go.
And then deploy those drogue parachutes, which we just see on
got
your
two
screen right
drogues.
now. I can't get over these views today. And of course right now...
Visual on 2 healthy drogues.
So those...
Good news there for Mission Control.
These drogue chutes or pilot chutes there are going to slow Dragon down in preparation for main chute deploy. These are high-speed parachutes that are designed to just get you to a good speed for opening up your parachute. You don't want to open the chute when you're going too fast because you'll strain the rigging and you'll break the chute. So they have pilot chutes here to slow it down, to get it to the right speed that it needs to get to deploy the main chutes without stressing the rigging.
Under a minute or so.
So
dude.
Wow. Yeah, those are amazing. Right now, those drogue chutes are
Hatch
doing
deploy,
that initial slowdown.
main mortar firing.
And it looks like we're getting views here of main
4 shoots
parachute
out.
deploy.
We see visual on 4 healthy mains.
SpaceX Dragon, we see the same. 4 healthy mains.
And
left
you
chute.
can see that the main parachutes have
Left chute.
deployed. They are expanding. Once they're fully expanded, they are going to slow the vehicle down all the way to
She's a
about
little
16
crispy.
miles per hour. Right in time for
Look at, she's a little
splashing
crispy.
down into the Pacific Ocean today.
Okay, there we go.
Right
4
now,
good mains.
Dragon has saved all propulsion systems.
Okay. Something that's really cool to see is that they have 4 different patterns on each chute. So when the thing comes down, if a parachute does have a problem, they can tell which chute it is. If you had 4 parachutes that looked exactly the same, you wouldn't be able to, it's really kind of a difficult thing to see which one is which, right? But if you notice, they all have slightly different patterns, right? So you can tell which chute is the one that malfunctioned. Now, don't get me wrong, we don't have any malfunctioning chutes here. All 4 chutes are working just fine.
Hearing those callouts, we are confirming the
But
altitude
that's why
as the
they're all
vehicle
different
makes its way
patterns.
back down to Earth.
And of course, now that we've had confirmation of both drogue and main parachute deployment with these great views of our crews inside Dragon on your screen now, our next major milestone is splashdown.
Whatever.
Yeah. Very excited with these awesome views that we're getting.
600.
2,000 feet.
600 meters.
Landing in water is simpler, therefore more reliable, and it provides more margin against unlikely parachute issues. Now, we had to learn how to make Dragon waterproof, but once you do, it's rinse, review, and reuse.
Should get it.
400.
Copy, 400.
1,200 feet.
If you're just now joining us,
Crew bracing for splashdown.
you are watching the Fram2 crew make their way back down to
Dude,
Earth.
what the heck?
Amazing.
What a shot.
Daytime
You gotta
views.
be kidding me.
I love that we got the opportunity to do
Freaking
this.
spacecraft coming
You
back.
can see
No big
Dragon and
200.
Copy, 200 meters and braced for
deal.
splashdown.
600 feet.
inside of that Dragon capsule are the 4 Fram2 crew members about to splash down here in just
Kind of blowing in the wind a little bit.
few seconds.
$50, $40, $30, $20, $10. Matt. It doesn't do that. It's just me being funny. They're a little bit ahead of us. Here we go.
Welcome home, Fram2. We have confirmation of splashdown of the
Boom.
Dragon spacecraft. Dragon has returned home with the Fram2 crew. The SpaceX recovery ship and team have been waiting for Dragon splashdown, and they will now start making their way to the splashdown location.
Our teams have been ready and waiting for this return about 3 nautical miles away. So it's going to take them about 30 minutes to make their way to Dragon.
That was incredible.
SpaceX Dragon, stable 1.
Stable 1 configuration. There you go.
Copy, stable 1. We see main chutes cut. On behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
So they're reporting a stable 1 configuration there.
Great confirmation there from our mission control team that we've seen.
Stable 1 means that the capsule is straight up. Stable 2 means that it tipped over in the water. Now, if you look, there's a big opening right here. That opening is where the parachutes were stored. And when the parachute mortars fire, you can see the rigging goes around the door and pulls the chutes out of this compartment right here.
Are in progress. We'll report back when recovery personnel are en route.
Now, when the capsule first dips down, right? When the capsule first dips down, it plunges into the water and comes back up, right? Because it's buoyant. And what happens is that parachute compartment scoops up a bunch of water. And that keeps the capsule nice and stable. It basically works like a passive ballast tank. So you can see there's a bunch of water in it.
Dragon spacecraft, the Fram2 crew still inside. Welcome back to
Now,
June.
if you notice, Dragon's kind of leaning over to one side. The reason why it does that is because the capsule actually has an offset center of mass. The center of mass is towards, well, the side that's tipping into the water. And once again, they need the parachute compartment to scoop up some water, or else the capsule will fall on its side and could potentially fall nose down into the water, right? Now, the reason why the capsule has the center of mass on one side is because they use that to modulate angle of attack of the heat shield during re-entry. Okay, if that wasn't, those were words. I see some of you in the back going, oh yeah, they use it to do that, man. All right. No, so the capsule wobbles a little bit, right? Because the center of mass is on one side. They have roll control thrusters that are actually up here and on the back right there. There are roll control thruster blocks. If you have an offset center of mass on the capsule and you roll the thruster, it'll actually change the angle of attack on your heat shield. You can modulate it between doing this, or steering to the sides, right? That's how they precisely land these things. The capsule can roll a little bit, and because your center of mass is offset, your heat shield can either tip more into re-entry or tip less into re-entry, giving the capsule what's called cross-range capability, meaning you can do a relatively precise landing. So because of that offset, because it's kind of heavier on one side, center of gravity is on this side of the capsule, when the thing takes the dunk, they need the parachute compartment to scoop up the water. If it scoops up the water and everything works correctly, they're in stable 1 configuration, the capsule stays straight up, just like that. Stable 2 would mean it didn't get enough water and the thing tips over. Tipping over is not that big of a deal. It might be a little bit of a, I hope you have sea legs or something, but it might be a little, you know, rough on your stomach if you get motion sickness. But yeah, that does happen from time to time. I've never seen it happen with a Dragon capsule, but it has happened in the past with other capsules.
And our team was locking in on the precise GPS coordinates of Dragon on landing to communicate that to those recovery teams.
I don't know, Baron.
SpaceX is go for recovery personnel to approach. Expect personnel alongside in 1 minute.
And you can see that the fast boats...
I can copy expecting personnel alongside in 1 minute.
There you can see that the fast boats are now approaching. Hence the word fast. That was pretty quick. What a view. We are in the Pacific Ocean. This is the first time Dragon has splashed down.
That thing is really not that far off the
West
beach.
Coast.
It's inside of the
awesome
Channel
that we got
Islands,
daytime views of this moment here. Now the recovery team is approaching the Dragon capsule. As I mentioned earlier, they are going to try and make sure that the vehicle is safe before they begin additional recovery operations.
At this point, Dragon has already autonomously completed several steps to safe itself following splashdown. For those of you just joining us, our mission has gone smoothly so far. Fram2...
Baron, I don't know what November 16854 is doing. I don't know. It's an OV-10 Bronco, though, which is pretty cool. Probably just somebody that's flying around in the on the perimeter of the TFR, if I had to guess.
Spacecraft down to a gentle splashdown. And again, we're now awaiting Dragon's recovery.
Great views from this drone that's overseeing recovery operations at the moment. Upon detection of landing, Dragon automatically releases those main parachutes to prevent the wind from pulling the spacecraft. Dragon then automatically safes any pyrotechnics still present on board the vehicle and may automatically perform additional minor system reconfigurations.
Inside the spacecraft, and the communication systems on board remain powered so the crew can continue to communicate.
SpaceX has 2 fast boats in our recovery fleet, one of which you can see just behind Dragon, and a couple others moving around at the moment, that move quickly to the splashdown point. They're being followed by Shannon, our main recovery vessel, which will move into position upwind of the spacecraft.
Now, the 2 fast boats have very specific roles. The first approach is focused on immediate safety inspection of the spacecraft integrity and checking for any presence of hyperbolic propellant vapors, ensuring that it is safe for Shannon to approach the Dragon spacecraft.
Then once Dragon is cleared for full approach, the team begins rigging the spacecraft for water recovery by the recovery ship. The second fast boat is responsible for
just over the horizon, dude.
And also serves as a redundant boat to the first. And of course, if you've seen Droding in and out of the frame here, a team member of ours on a jet ski also helps to gather up the now detached parachutes.
It will take a little over 10 minutes for the recovery crew to complete their safety checks. And then once they're complete, the team will begin preparing Dragon to be lifted into the recovery vessel. As part of the preparation for this lift, one member of the recovery team will climb on top of the spacecraft so that they can attach Dragon's hoist rings and connect the lifting lines. It will take us less than an hour to raise Dragon to the recovery boat and for the crew to exit the spacecraft. And again, today, they will be exiting the spacecraft unassisted. And hopefully they were able to work out a lot in the last 3 days and potentially may not see much of a difference. We do know that while you're in space and you don't have gravity, you may lose some muscle mass and some bone density, but with a short
See where
trip
it's-
and
figure out
being
where it's
able
coming
to
from.
have the workout equipment that they had. We'll see how
Where's the Florida Man Navy? This is in California, Geek.
spacecraft goes
It's off the
unassisted
coast of
today.
Encinitas.
We heard earlier in our webcast today, too, that
About
that's not just them exiting the capsule.
24
They're still
miles
wearing their spacesuits, obviously.
off the coast of
and
Encinitas.
altogether, the equipment that they're carrying weighs about 35 pounds, which may not sound like a lot, but after you've been up in zero gravity for quite some time,
Right.
In our case, it's been about 3.5 days for our crew.
Hypergol sweeps and unfired ordnance checks are nominal. Rigging in progress.
Good.
Approximately 25 minutes until capsule lift. Stand by for PMC with the SpaceX flight surgeon.
Private medical checks.
Dragon copy on all and standing by for PMC with flight surgeon.
I know somebody out there watching this heard PMC and went, what?
Good call-outs
No,
there.
not
That our
that.
first set
Private
of
medical
safety
checks.
sweeps by that first fast boat are complete on.
The first things that anybody comes back down from space, first thing you do is talk to get basically a physical from your doctor. Because once again, as they were just saying, going up into space can wreak havoc on your body if you're not careful.
Dragon. Dragon will then remain in the nest during crew extraction
Gotta protect
and for
the
the
meat
journey
suit,
back
you
into
know what I
port.
mean?
Dragon is currently
Nice,
done
Sean,
being
that's cool.
inspected. We did get the go that the vehicle is safe. And you could see there on your screen the recovery team member on board Dragon attaching some lifting rings and hoists in preparation for that lift.
We're getting some great images of it here, but recovery is really a very dynamic set of operations with a lot of teams moving closely coordinated to make sure that we can get those astronauts and capsule
The
safe.
next call will be from the flight surgeon on Dragon and Ground Private.
Yeah, it's odd. The trunks, man. It is what it is. Don't worry.
A little
Starships
more
will be coming
communication there
back.
from our core to our crew on
Sooner
board
rather
about what
than
to
later.
expect. And obviously our teams are continuing to work here to make sure everyone is as safe as possible.
And you heard that call out that they're going to be talking on a private net. That's because they're performing medical checks with the crew to see how they're doing, how they're feeling, make sure that they're feeling okay after, again, that was a lot of dynamic events that were happening.
What will happen to the Dragon capsule? They can move it by a truck, goalie. That's how they got it to the Cape in the first place.
Okay.
It's not going to stay. They don't want to take Shannon and move Shannon all the way back to the Cape. Why would you do that? Yeah, they'll SpaceX will probably take the capsule back to their port, their berth at Long Beach, and they'll put it on a truck and probably bring it right back to Hawthorne for, either pack it up there and send it to the Dragon's Nest back at the Cape, or refurbish it there. My guess would be Dragon's Nest at this point, considering they don't make Dragons in Hawthorne anymore, which is still a weird thing to say. The road is way cheaper, Vasia, like way cheaper, yeah. Yeah, it's a little. He's getting a little bit of surf, but pretty calm.
Once again, if you're just now joining us, you are tuned in to the Splashdown program as Fram2 has made their way back down to Earth. 4 crew members still patiently waiting inside of the Dragon capsule that you see there on your screen. And we are currently in procedure of the recovery operations.
You heard they're gonna fly her to Dragonland?
The next milestone that we should be able to visually see will be when the Shannon recovery vessel approaches the Dragon capsule, and then we will lift the capsule up out of the water into what we call the Dragon Nest.
I don't see what.
On board the recovery ship.
You have some good winds over here right now in Huntington Beach. Nice.
And as a reminder, we typically have previously splashed down in the Gulf and off the coast of Florida. But today, we splashed down off the west coast in the Pacific Ocean for the very first time in Dragon.
I mean, they could charter something. You could move this. That's what I'm thinking, Dead Crew. Like, what would you use? What would you use to move a Dragon? SpaceX has a 737, but it's not a 737F. It's not, I don't think it's a cargo variant. And even if it was, I don't think Dragon would fit. A 747 cargo could move that. Yeah, sure. That would fit in a 747's cargo bay. You could use a C-17, sure. It would absolutely fit in a C-17. Heck, it could probably fit in a C-130, no problem. If you want to get a good idea,
the Fram2 crew is still patiently waiting inside of the.
If you want to get a good idea for how big a C-130's cargo bay is, it's the size of a boxcar. That was the specifications for a C-130 back in the day. Fit a boxcar worth of cargo in an airplane.
Our mission...
the Super Guppy could absolutely fit it. Super Guppy could fit like 4 of them.
Rabia Roga completing their 4-day mission.
Now that the first humans have been to polar
orbit,
when do you think the second ones will?
Our crew actually all met together in Svalbard, which is something that our commander, Chun Wang, shared on X while they were up in space. All of them have deep ties.
Dragon SpaceX, comm check.
SpaceX Dragon, repeat.
Comm check.
SpaceX Dragon, we have you loud and clear. Tell me.
I have you loud and clear as well, and Dragon to ground is no longer private.
No, it's the same width at the thickest part as Falcon 9, dude.
Some additional communication there between our crew and Mission Control here in Hawthorne, California. Again, all of the polar explorers on board today have deep ties to the Arctic. That's where this crew met and kind of dreamt up this mission. And now we are currently waiting for their exit from the capsule, returning as the first polar explorers from space.
Dragon, be advised, we are transitioning our forward link. Comm will be unavailable for approximately 5 minutes.
Dragon Cup is on comm available for approximately 5 minutes.
When does the trunk come down? It's going to be a little bit, couple of weeks.
And there you can see our recovery vessel Shannon and a view from on board the recovery ship. Now this is the deck that the crew will walk out onto when they first exit the vehicle. The Dragon capsule will be lifted at the end of the vehicle, or the recovery vessel there, into the Dragon nest, and then it'll translate forward. And there you can see the Dragon nest a little bit better there. It'll translate forward to that deck where the recovery team can open the hatch and
trunk should
allow
already
the
be
crew
down.
to
Jettison was
exit
after the deorbit burn. Was it, Scott?
We mentioned it earlier, but that circular fixture that you see at the aft end of the recovery vessel, which is at the top of your screen,
yeah, trunk's already
referring
down.
to as the Dragon nest.
Already way down.
That's what we'll place Dragon into, both for crew exiting or egressing the capsule, and for transition of the spacecraft all the way back to port. That's where it will stay nested until we're ready to take it off. And obviously then we bring those capsules back and prep them for future reflight, as we do with most of our vehicles here at SpaceX.
You don't really want the capsule to be on its side, Sintesi.
Yeah, this capsule actually
if you can help it.
flew 3 times prior to the Fram2 crew.
Yeah, this is its 4th flight.
It supported the Crew 1 mission a few years ago, which is wild to think in the past few years that we've had so many crew missions, and now today concluding a fully commercial civilian mission.
Our second, actually. Our first was onboard Inspiration 4. We've had several different free-flying missions since then. Obviously, Polaris Dawn last year, Fram2 today. But lots of different use cases for Dragon. We see it transport NASA astronauts.
Dragon SpaceX, ComCheck.
SpaceX Dragon, we have you loud and clear. Tell me.
Copy. I have you loud and clear as well. We have completed our forward link transition.
Cool.
Dragon, copy.
Good confirmation there that we're continuing that communications between Mission Control and Fram2 on board. And again, we were just talking about the many different use cases for Dragon, whether it's flying NASA crew members to the International Space Station, these private first-of-their-kind free flyer missions, or taking cargo up to the ISS as well.
Yeah, it's really cool to see kind of how this Dragon capsule has expanded through each one of the missions. Its first launch being with Crew 1 had the docking adapter on that with the ISS, and then the second flight was actually Inspiration 4 with the Cupola. The third flight with Polaris Dawn with the Skywalker hardware, and then back to Fram2 with the Cupola again with some of the coolest views. So.
And again, that cupola is the large domed window on the top side of Dragon. We've had it covered in the shots that we've seen of Dragon because we closed the nose cone prior to reentry. But that cupola is the largest window ever flown in space, which has enabled a lot of these great views for our crew and photos and videos that they've been sharing with us.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see more. I know that they've been taking some really awesome video and cinematography with the experience of especially Yannicka on board. And a great view there.
Dude,
Dragon
look at this.
Getting very close to being lifted onto our recovery vessel Shannon in the Pacific Ocean today.
Hello? Anybody home? No, I'm gonna touch it. Don't tell me to not touch it. I'm touching it. I'm touching it. Touching it. What are you gonna do about it?
Right now, our teams are working on lowering the vessel's hydraulic lift mechanism on board Shannon into the water to bring Dragon up on deck. We'll go ahead and put it in the Dragon nest we were talking about a little bit earlier there.
Lick it? No, I don't want to do that.
This really is a closely coordinated effort between a lot of different teams. And we're seeing a lot of different vessels, team members, all work together in these different shots that we're getting from the drone covering recovery today.
Post the link, Jono.
And you can see how calm the water looks in the Pacific Ocean. That
Come on.
For a crew splashdown. And it looks very calm. Weather looks great. Blue skies. I'm sure the crew will be happy to step out for the first time, get their first breath of fresh air from the Pacific Ocean and see some blue skies.
Yeah, their first experience back on Earth since they launched on March 31st from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Really. Our crew took off from LC-39A, which is also a historic launch pad in many ways, and is the one that we most often launch from for our crewed missions here at SpaceX.
Chano, what do you got? Oh, dude. What mission was this, man?
And we've mentioned this before, but as you can see on the recovery vessel, there is a helicopter pad there. And that was what Marissa was standing on when we were talking with her earlier through Starlink.
Umaze, thanks for that Prime sub. And is the alerter broken again? It's broken again. Yep. Okay. Of course it is.
There of the nest that the capsule will be lifted and set onto. And once they complete some medical checks, they will actually get on a helicopter that will land on that helicopter pad on top of the ship and take them back to land.
Great shot,
a little
dude.
bit faster than being on the ship.
Jono, that's the Huntington Beach Pier, right? I mean, you said you took it to Huntington Beach. That's probably... I mean, that would make the most sense, wouldn't it? That's definitely the Huntington Beach Pier. I love Huntington Beach, dude.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Huntington Beach, El Segundo, Hawthorne. It's a nice part of Southern California, man. Maybe not El Segundo, but you get what I'm trying to say. Sick, dude. Did it just go through now?
Dragon, copy.
Okay, moving the A-frame into position. They're attaching the tag lines and the rigging for the Dragon capsule. I did, Mozzie. We saw it right. I showed it right at the beginning of the stream. Been here for 59 years.
May have heard those comms there, but
I like El
getting very close to Dragon being lifted out of the water with that hydraulic lift system there.
Very cool to get a chance to see
it's a West Coast
this
recovery, Jeff. Yep.
vessel at work too.
Seriously, why can't they transport the Dragon sideways? How does it get from the SpaceX shed to the launch pad? Sideways. I mean, you could, in Tessie. It's going to be hard to transport it sideways without a trunk attached to it. You could, but generally the capsules are moved vertically. You put it on a lowboy trailer. Source, I've seen it. It's on a lowboy trailer with slide curtains on it. Up here we go, lifting the capsule up. Now, what's cool about this mission is that the Fram2 astronauts, they've only been up there for a couple of days, for 3 days, right? So instead of having help egressing from the capsule or getting out of the capsule, they're going to manually open the hatch themselves and actually just walk out of the capsule. Pretty cool little test for egress procedures without crew.
These views are awesome.
Yes, they are.
So cool.
So what was the original transport problem? People were talking about how they were going to move Dragon back to the West Coast. It's going to go on a truck. All of Falcon 9's equipment, first stage, second stage, grid fin, landing leg, Dragon capsule, trunk, fairings, all of it can be transported. All of it is conformant to Department of Transportation specifications. Falcon 9 was built with that expectation, that Falcon 9 could be carried on a trailer and meets weight requirements to be moved on roads. So it would be cheaper to move Falcon 9s around instead of moving them on a barge, right? So yeah, you could probably move this thing sideways, but you don't really move them sideways. Like they get transported vertically. They're built vertically too, for what it's worth. Right now they're using taglines to get the thing centered on the nest.
A little bit colder, so we'll see what the fast boat
crew
members especially have to say about the difference.
Hopefully with the warmer sunny weather, it was a little bit warmer in the water for them.
Yeah, we had beautiful days, beautiful daytime views today of Dragon's recovery. We did splash down just off the coast of Oceanside, California, but we narrowed that selection down from 3 possible landing sites along the West Coast today. And all of that was decided in part by weather, but a lot of other different variables.
Dragon, go for cameras internal.
Okay.
Copy. Taking cameras internal.
Yeah, here. Sintesi, take a look. Thank you, goalie. Here. All right, look. Check this out, man. Now, that's a dud. Don't worry about that. That's what I'm talking about. See what I mean? They move the sucker on a low boy. Like I said, I've seen it. I just didn't take a picture of it.
The Fram2 crew is still inside of the Dragon capsule, still patiently waiting in their seats. And that is Mission Commander Chun Wang, Vehicle Commander Yannicka McNicholson, Mission Specialist and Medical Officer Eric Phillips, and Mission Pilot Rabia Roga. Waiting for that Dragon hatch to open here momentarily. Before that happens, we're going to translate the Dragon capsule over to the deck that we saw earlier.
So what those guys are doing right there, they're putting in plugs into the thrusters, basically to prevent FOD or anything else from getting in there. They're gonna blow out the thrusters, make sure there's nothing in them. They put plugs in them. The reason why you put plugs in them is there could be trace amounts, like residual amounts of hypergolic rocket propellant in there, and you don't want that going anywhere. The rocket propellant that the propellant that Dragon uses are hypergolic, so it's monomethyl hydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide. There we go, shot on board. And you don't want to breathe that stuff. It's not good for you. So they're plugging up the thrusters to make sure nothing gets in there and to make sure that no residual leaks out.
Dragon copy. Standing by.
All right.
That's so awesome to see them so connected with each other and excited, holding hands as they, are completing the final steps of their mission, which is not quite over yet. Exiting the capsule is a part of their research. So they've got one more step to go before this mission is complete. Looks like Rabia is trying to experience what gravity is like again.
We don't need to do that.
It'd be great to hear their description of having been up in space, given the wide variety of backgrounds that they brought.
Give me the window
seat,
ma'am.
Right.
Right now, we are standing by for translation
well,
of
actually,
the Dragon
the windows are
up
blacked
to
out.
the deck
No, I
before
want the
opening
console
the
in front
hatch
of me.
on board Dragon. Before opening the hatch, the spacecraft's cabin pressure needs to be equalized with the outside environment. So we may hear some chatter about that as well. Once the hatch is opened,
for the whole thing.
We mentioned it earlier, but that will be our crew's first breath of fresh air since boarding Falcon 9 at the start.
Yeah, of course they do, dude. But you can always ask me, Sintesi. I'm not trying to... Yeah. So, dude, I've had the privilege of seeing a lot of this stuff up close. I've been around Hawthorne before. I haven't been there in a long time. But I've had the privilege of seeing a lot of this stuff. Seen a lot of space flight hardware up close that I frankly probably had no business being near. The thing about it is that you can't take pictures. So it seems like I'm pulling a lot of this stuff out of my tail, right? Because I have no way to say one way or the other. Like, I don't have any evidence of me. You can't take selfies next to a rocket. Especially if it's in like an integration facility, because you really don't want your phone near something that can explode. And it's like using your phone on an airplane, during takeoff and landing. It's probably going to be fine, but probably going to be fine doesn't really jive too well with a multi-million-dollar rocket, right? So anytime I've gotten near anything that was worth taking a picture of, I couldn't take a picture of it. So yeah, if you guys want to know why I know a lot of the stuff, like I said, I've had the privilege of seeing a lot of this stuff, and I've seen it up close, and I can't really talk about it at all. Or not, I can talk about it. I can't really. There's no evidence. I have no way of being like, oh yeah, that's how they do it. I wasn't allowed to take pictures.
And take their first breath of fresh air back on Earth in a few days.
Yeah, Pop. Rockets have a lot of explosive ordnance on board.
This crew completed just about 55 orbits of the Earth during their mission, passing over the poles
you just
roughly
want to be careful.
every 46
you never know.
and a half minutes.
Get an old school camera with film.
Just get a different perspective of Earth in the polar orbit. No crew has ever orbited
we'll see this video
that
on X
orbit
later.
before, which is so awesome that this Fram2 crew has made history.
Use your phone while pumping gasoline like a boss. Yeah, Pop. I've been about as close as me to the damn camera to a Delta
cool
4 Heavy.
Chun is
Couldn't take any
using his
pictures of
phone
it. I could have
even with
reached
his
out and
gloves
touched the
on.
damn
These
thing.
are
I'm like,
gloves that are made to work with
I wanna lick
displays,
it.
and it
they're
looks
like,
like
don't.
it still works with your phone.
I'm excited to see that picture.
Yeah, I know.
Of course, we do have our crew visors up at this point because we are safely on board Shannon, our recovery vessel. But the space suits really are an extension of the Dragon capsule. So our crew dons them both for ascent and descent and any dynamic phases of flight on board Dragon. So we're getting these great views inside here. It looks like maybe another selfie is happening, which is great. And now that visors are up, we've got great views of all of our crew faces, smiling here, happy to be home. And looks like everybody's doing really well.
Yeah. You know, with a mission like this, you definitely have to document every moment.
Is he tweeting while waiting for egress? I don't know. Let me check.
Oh, and there we're seeing great visual of Dragon beginning that translation on the nest up to the deck. There's our recovery team preparing to open up the hatch. Obviously, a medical officer standing by to greet our crew. They are going to exit Dragon unassisted today, which again is...
So what they're doing is that guy's hosing off the parachute rigging and hosing off the capsule to make sure there's, you know, get all the salt water off of the vehicle. You don't want it to sit there. It's sitting there is not great for it. It's a spacecraft, not a boat. Makes sense? Now, what they're doing, noted everybody has gas masks on. What they're going to do is sniff around for more hypergalls to make sure that the propellants aren't leaking anymore.
Go and explore places like the moon and Mars.
That's an HVAC system right there for the nose cone compartment. So the area around the nose cone, they're pressurizing it to make sure nothing bad gets inside. It's positive pressure.
What may or may not be needed to be able to exit a spacecraft unassisted is extremely important for those type of missions in the future.
Dragon SpaceX, stand by for side hatch opening and egress.
Okay.
Dragon copy.
Saltwater ain't good for boats either. Yeah, that's a good point.
And egress.
Okay, getting ready for egress. You really do have a cool picture of you and Das near that landed Falcon. Yep, true that. Okay, so the gas masks are off. They stop sniffing for propellants, meaning it's pretty clear. That guy's in on the ground loop. He's in on the mission loop, so he's talking to mission control. This dude is the photographer.
Right now, we're just standing
He's got a camera
for that hatch opening so that our crew can exit, which you're hearing us use the word egress. So egress the capsule.
How do they clean the RCS nozzles with hypergol residue?
With medical checks and following up with additional research, of course, seeing their families.
They use a solvent. I don't know which one. Okay, there's the hatch open.
There's that hatch open.
What up, crew? That's the cover for the seal for the hatch. It's very, very sharp. You don't want to get caught on that thing.
What you can see there is we are putting a protective frame around the hatch for when they exit. This is important to make sure that we don't damage the suits or the vehicle as they exit the capsule. Again, this vehicle is reusable, so we want to maintain the integrity of the vehicle.
Both of them, Dan, believe it or not.
Making sure that the crew is safe.
So what that dude is doing is he's documenting how the hatch looked during re-entry, and what SpaceX will do is they'll compare them to 3 or 4 days ago when they took pictures of the hatch cover when they left. They're looking for any particular changes, anything different. Everything gets documented with spaceflight, guys. You document every single step. Take a picture of it, report it, send it to SpaceX headquarters. They document everything, every step. Even when they put the cover on, the guy should take his phone out and take another picture.
Fourth launch and splashdown. So to your point about keeping an eye on making sure everything stays ready for recovery and reuse, we're looking forward to flying this Dragon again.
Pretty much, Bran, yeah. Securing the FOD cover. Egress ramp after that. SpaceX's mainframe is ridiculous,
More
Pop.
steps here while we're
That's
standing
another
by
one
for
of
the
those things
egress
that
of
I've
our
seen that I can't show you guys. The mainframe at Hawthorne is nuts. It's a big server room. It was a big server room when I saw it in 2017. I can only imagine it's bigger now. It also has a Cyberdyne Systems logo, a Xenomorph, and a Terminator T-800. There's a window into the server room that you can see in Hawthorne. It's not far from where Jesse and Ronnie are calling this cast. Yeah, it's the elevator that goes between the mezzanine, the second floor, and the first floor. Yeah, it's got a Xenomorph and a T-800, and there's a Cyberdyne Systems logo on their server racks.
And will soon perform their last research experiment of exiting the
Another one of those things that I just couldn't take a picture of, you know, like. That's going to end well. I'd be much
Jesse,
more worried about the X.AI mainframe.
Is one of our research experiments. So we actually did just...
I don't know if you guys have seen the video that I showed that one time of the X.AI facility. It was a YouTuber that covered it, and I kind of watched bits and pieces of the video of the X.AI mainframes, which is kind of nuts.
That supports long duration spaceflight.
Nice, Dan. Self-egress from the capsule, weather guy. They're doubling its size, by the way. I'd believe it. Not mainframes. Yeah, they're GPU scaling. Sorry, not carburetor. It's crazy, Milgy. Hackermans, I'm in. All right, guys. Let's see. Undo the harness. Yeah, you don't want to hit your back on that door. That would suck. I'd say commercial astronaut would be applicable here, Rohandy. They're not NASA astronauts, but
a great view of our
Fram2
crew just before they exit the spacecraft. And they look very excited.
They do look really happy. I think it would be hard not to be coming back from like the first polar mission, people you've known a long time, worked with before. This is a really exciting mission.
What's the bag for?
Yeah, and they've done a lot of great work, a lot of research experiments, and just got to see some of the most incredible views that most people don't get to see out of the Dragon cupola during their time in space.
Our commander, Chun Wang, actually said on X in one of his posts from Starlink while they were on board that this trajectory was designed for that reason. They wanted to be able to see the areas that they loved and called home, which people don't usually get to see from the orbits that we usually fly. So that's what really motivated this polar exploration mission.
This shoebox. They're in the cafeteria, by the way. Somebody just dropped a plate in the cafeteria. That's what that noise was. Seriously, SpaceX casts from their cafeteria. It's called the Mez. See?
Now, as a reminder, the crew will be exiting the spacecraft
I can
unassisted.
handpick the next person to set foot on the moon. Who would it be?
The
Johnny
recovery team
Kim.
is there.
It's not even judgment call.
Helping to clear some of their belongings there. But they will remove their footrests themselves.
Yeah, I noticed that,
get out of
Brohandy.
their
I'm not
seat
sure why Chen Wang,
themselves
the commander, is
and
riding in the
exit
MS-1
the
spot, but
spacecraft themselves.
I'm sure there was a good reason. Do you think NASA would ever do a free-flying Dragon mission? If they saw
On
the
your
need to,
screen
Raris,
closest
maybe.
to us is Mission Specialist Medical Officer Eric Phillips. Next to him in the pilot seat
Barry
is Mission
Wilmore land
Pilot
him there?
Rabia Roga.
I'd do that.
Looks like Rabia is the first one who's going to exit Dragon here.
They might, Aldezard, who knows? I wonder if Eric knows the camera's on his face. Hey, Eric. Don't look at the camera. Okay. All right, self-egress. Here we go. You got this. You're all right.
Looks like Rabia was able to pull herself out of her seat, and looks like she's standing there. And removing her footrest of her specific seat. Oh, it looks like some cargo, actually.
You got this. One step at a time.
Rabia Roga was our mission pilot for the Fram2 crew. It was the first to get up out of her seats.
Careful.
And exit the spacecraft.
Oh.
This is a really big shift for our astronauts.
And
there she is.
Oh, all right.
Standing
all right.
and excited.
There you go.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
Awesome. Mission pilot Rabia Roga of the Fram2 crew.
Mind the gap. Yep.
Looks like Eric
Eric's coming out
Phillips
now.
is up next.
See if the Aussie gets stuck. The Aussie, he ain't gonna get stuck. He ain't gonna get stuck. Watch this. My guy, there he is. All right.
There's Eric Phillips
Prominent would get
standing
stuck.
tall.
All right.
All smiles exiting Dragon. This is great.
The fact that they're picking up cargo packs is more impressive. Did you see Rabia, Raiden? That looked like, I think I saw the label on it. I think that was all of her cameras. She took her cameras, lifted them up, and put them outside of the capsule after being in space for 3 days. That's pretty good, man. It's pretty good. Yeah, that's butt cam. Yeah, you might want to cut that camera. It was labeled survival gear. Oh, okay. Could be cameras. Who knows?
And looks like Vehicle Commander Jannica Mikkelsen is now out of her seat.
Yeah, Eric's a pro polar explorer. Yeah, dude. No, exactly, Clever Girl. He ain't getting stuck. What does this one say?
Lifting up some cargo.
Bro. Oh, yeah, Yannicka, that's right. Yannicka, she's the videographer. Yeah, so survival. Yeah, Rabia. Oh, you're all right. You're all right. Rabia wouldn't be taking cameras out. That's right. That's a good point. All right.
There she goes. Yannicka Mikkelsen. Very, very excited. And last, but especially not least, Mission Commander Chun Wang
Mr. Satofishi
will conclude this final research experiment in a few moments.
Just in case you're just joining us, the experiment that we're doing right now is watching our crew exit Dragon unassisted. The reason that's important is because when you're up in space operating in microgravity, we see some changes in bone density, muscle strength, even over a short period of time. So we're testing our crew's ability to exit the Dragon spacecraft unassisted, in no small part because in the future, either on the moon or on Mars, we may not have a recovery team there to meet our astronauts.
Especially when we go for the first time.
Let's go.
Again, this is our mission commander, Chun Wang, exiting Dragon.
Also reaching for some cargo.
You got this, man. Mind the gap. Yeah, buddy. That's awesome.
And Mission Commander Chun Wang.
He was just like, yeah, I'm good.
Has now exited
the camera. I'm good.
The spacecraft. What an awesome team, awesome mission, and a diverse group of experience. Excellent mission. This was an awesome, very unique and different experience, and I can't wait to hear more from the crew and what their experience was like on orbit. Now with our Fram2 crew now safely back home on Earth and getting checked by our medical team, the crew will next be catching a helicopter flight back to shore, and soon they'll rejoin their families.
Over the past 4-day mission, Fram2 became the first human spaceflight to orbit Earth's polar regions. The crew conducted 22 research experiments while in orbit, including research studies and experiments designed to advance both human health here on Earth and during long-duration spaceflight.
And over the course of the mission, the crew achieved several firsts, including the first X-rays to be taken in space, opening the door to a vast array of clinical research and engineering applications.
Fram2 was also the first time exercise has taken place on Dragon, and the crew performed the first ever study to grow mushrooms in space, with the goal of helping astronauts meet their nutritional needs on long-duration space missions like those to Mars. And today was the first time a Dragon crew was recovered on the West Coast.
So many incredible firsts. Thank you so much for joining us this week for the Fram2 mission. And as always, make sure to check x.com/SpaceX for updates. I'm Jesse Anderson.
And I'm Ronnie Foreman. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too, Ronnie. Yeah, the nutritional. That's what those are. Nutritional. All right, anyway, that's going to do it for the Fram2 coverage. So when Fram3, yeah, baby, I don't know. Pretty cool. That was a good way to start today. Thanks for the coverage. Yeah, no problem. No, Hellfish, that would be littering and. Deorbit the capsule. I'm already deorbited. He can't deorbit anymore. He can't deorbit anymore, man. Sorry. Do mushrooms need light to grow? No, they do not. Nice, Baron. That's cool. Flame Trench today. Yes, I will be doing Flame Trench today. Actually, let me just double check here. Yeah, it should be. Train Flinch. Yep. Long March 5. Yep. So, yeah, we got Flame Trench happening in... 3 hours and 15... I need more coffee. 3 hour, 45 minutes. Yeah, that's right, Alice. The Long March 5 Appreciation Hour. I hate that rocket, to be honest with you. What a piece of junk. Can we make it like now Falcon 9 or something? Now watch this. Now Falcon 9. Yep. Anyway. Okay. Did you see Ashley Vance's newest podcast with Chris Kemp? Pashto, I actually haven't gotten around to seeing it yet. All right. So I'm all screwed up, to be honest with you. Now Ares 5. I like that. I like that, Matrix. That's a good one. Now Ares 5. Now Saturn 5. Yeah. All right. So give me a second here. I'm going to take a quick break. Have you played Starbase Sim? No. Yikes. Concur. We do need more of this. Anyway, commercial missions just kind of another thing, man. Pretty crazy, right? Never thought I'd see that.
Discovery.
All right. I'm probably gonna take 15 minutes. We'll restart the stream up at the half past. Don't worry. We don't need Ares 5. We have SLS, the clear superior. All right, this was nice stream coverage, Kate. Let's not ruin it, okay? It's a nice moment. Let's not ruin it. Okay. All right. So, YouTube stream will probably get a 15-minute out here, and then I'll put us on the starting screen for workers here. We'll play workers for 3 or 4 hours, and then we'll jump over to Flame Trench then. So, I will see you guys in about 15, and yeah. I hope you enjoyed the Fram2 coverage. Be back momentarily.